Oh, hello.
Oh, belt butler. Oh, it comes out really far.
It comes out really far. I always thought that it comes out like the hand of a dead person.
I brought your belt from beyond the grave, Johnny.
And it just comes into your peripheral vision like a dead man's hand. Well, today we're in a very quiet, sumptuous tan.
Oh my goodness, it's so tan.
So tan, so gold.
So tan. It's like they've stripped David Dickinson of his leather, his leathery skin, and used it to upholster this car.
And this is the SEC.
The SEC. Now,
yeah, you know me.
So I've driven this car.
Have you?
Drove this car when they first got it, because this when Mercedes bought it back for their Heritage fleet. Yeah, I had.
Did they buy it off Brian Sewell?
They may have done, or off his estate.
When he passed away.
Brian Sewell died in 2015, I believe.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know when they got this car. They may have bought it straight off him.
Yeah.
Having known that it's a bit special, this, because it was belonged originally to Mercedes UK, but they ordered it to loan it to motor racing's Nigel Mansell.
I mean,
in 80.
It's an 87 or 88 car. Yeah.
And so around that time, as I understand it, Mercedes didn't have a team of their own.
Yeah.
Or indeed any involvement in F1, but they quite like the kudos of having F1 drivers in their cars. So they used to give out freebie SECs.
Kind of VIP loaners.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
I think Senna had one.
Senna did have one. And there was another racing driver that was seen wafting around in one. And I'm trying to remember who that was. Might have been Nelson Piquet, but I can't remember.
Yeah, quite possibly.
But,
I think there was a few of them, maybe Berger as well.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because you sit in this thing.
I can't help but sit in a very relaxed way, like I'm in someone's living
proper,
room.
It's proper easy listening. And you can't imagine an intense Formula One driver driving it. But then again, when your company car's a Formula One car...
Yeah, but I think that's a thing. Even like quite a sporty road car is never going to match the dynamics of a Formula One car. So why bother? Why not go the other way? Go lounge lizard. And clearly it worked. If you think about it, so a number of these F1 drivers had them, and that included Mansell.
Yeah.
Who...
The moustached F1
The mustachioed... But I was puzzled as to why this car's left-hand drive.
Yeah.
At first, because although he did do a bit of the old tax exile-y thing,
yeah,
he did it on the Isle of Man.
Which is right-hand drive.
Which is right-hand drive. And then I think he moved to Jersey, also right-hand drive, yeah. But I think that might have been after he'd retired from F1.
Okay.
So what? He never did the Monaco thing, or Switzerland, as far as I know.
Can't imagine Mansell in Monaco.
No. Can't imagine him anywhere outside of the UK. He's very sort of...
Yeah.
There's something fantastically provincial about
there
him.
There is, like, yeah.
Or parochial. It turns out, I looked this up, he asked Mercedes for a left-hand drive one because he decided that he would then use it to drive to all the European races.
Brilliant.
And he's a pragmatic man.
Yeah.
Well, I've just looked this up, and it turns out that many of our continental brethren drive on the other side of the road. I don't know what that's about, but I think it'd be sensible to get a car configured to their style of driving, i.e. driving on the wrong side.
I'm fascinated by the fact that it was owned by two completely different people. I mean, like, well, Nigel Mansell and Brian Sewell, the art critic.
When I first found out about this, when I got to have a quick go in this car just after Mercedes had got it back in-house, I was thinking, oh God, Brian Sewell negotiating with Nigel Mansell to buy the car.
I'm trying to do a haggle.
I think your offer's slightly insulting there, Brian.
Oh, but Nigel, there are some scuffs on the exterior.
It's apparently that didn't happen because it was never Mansell's to sell.
So it was a
Mercedes,
loaner.
yeah. So he did a load of. He went across Europe in it. He did sort of 15,000 miles in it, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Mercedes took it back, and then it was, I think, sold. It wasn't just loaned; it was sold to a museum, but not a Mercedes museum.
Oh, okay.
The Patrick Collection, one of those sort of museums. It was then later broken up, and it came onto the market. And at some point, the man who bought it was the art critic Brian.
I can't imagine someone who's an art critic who maybe appreciates colour and flamboyance. The colour scheme of this car is not massively flamboyant. Caramel, would you call this? And then exterior, Mercedes smoke silver, which is not silver.
Is that what they call it? Smoke
silver metallic. And can you imagine Nigel Mansell going, I want a silver car?
Yeah.
And he's thinking Mercedes
What's this?
Silver Arrows. Is it the Silver Arrows racing team? And this arrives and he goes, no.
No, it's not silver.
No, it's not silver.
No.
And you go, well, it is actually, Nigel. It's smoke silver, Mercedes smoke silver. No. Well, we've ordered it, so and you've got a race to drive to. So I've filled the glove box with tree bomb mints and get on your way. It's just, but you know what?
Driving gloves.
When I got, he
on the
totally,
tree ball.
and he'd have his flat cap on, Nigel would, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But what I really like about this, it's been a little while since I've got behind the wheel of a Merc of this era, because I've never owned an S-Class.
Have you not?
No, I've never owned a 126, despite it being the car that is the same age as me. As you know, because you bought me a model for my birthday.
I bought you a Model 126 for your
and
birthday.
And it's always a car that I keep thinking of buying, because it was so advanced for its time, and of course this is the coupe version of that, even though it's doesn't share the front end or the back end. It's weird.
No.
It doesn't share any panels, I don't think, with the S-Class.
No, I don't think it does, because
It just shows the
bonnet's
chassis.
different. Maybe the front wings?
I don't know, because it's got different shaped eyes, hasn't it? Different bonnet,
Yeah.
different grille. Which I always thought was a strange... So this is the C126.
Yeah.
And when I got in it, I went, oh, that's familiar, 123 series, which I used to have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's familiar 123 series, which I used to have. And oh, that's 123 series. And that is, and the door bin is that weird, like really long and very deep.
Very narrow and deep, yeah. So
Very narrow.
You put stuff in and then you can't actually get your arm in.
Well, it's
retrieve it.
it's the sort of thing where if you wanted to put your vote into a polling station and you don't want anyone else to hook your vote out, put it in the door pocket of an 80s Merc. It'll just disappear. And the one stalk that does everything.
Yeah.
I'm digging the one. I always loved the one stalk that does everything.
Do you know what? I remember contemporary motoring magazines would, every time they tested a Mercedes, it was almost like a little sort of cliche checklist. They'd go oversized steering wheel.
It's massive.
They put a big wheel in these cars.
It's a big wheel.
But they always just go single overloaded column stalk. And having then used the single overloaded column stalk in various Mercedes, it's not overloaded at all. It's very logical.
It's totally logical.
Because the lights aren't on there, so it's only the wipers and the indicators.
Wash wipe and the
not
indicators.
Complicated.
And you can flash full beam.
Yeah.
And there's nothing going on here.
Exactly. And you can, and if you want to do a flick wipe, you just push the end in, don't you? Which is like it's actually a really logical thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it means you can override the whatever wiper setting you've got on. Nothing wrong with that.
So, and of course, Nigel Mansell, being Nigel Mansell,
Yeah.
wanted to get the top spec engine, 560. So what's that? 5.6
V8.
all aluminium V8.
Yeah. It's now. Is it? Does it make 300? There's a bump.
It's 300
There's
horse.
a bump thing.
It's 300 horse. This thing would do 155 miles an hour.
Look at this.
And it weighs 1.8 tons.
Does it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
But you know what I
else
like
we've got
about it?
here?
This is one of those cars where it's a coupe that you can really use. That they're adult, pretty much adult size seats.
4-speed automatic.
Yeah.
So that's the most old-fashioned thing here. Is a 4-speed automatic. That just seems too few gears these days. But
you know
of
what?
course
I think I might be wrong. When you put it in E, look, when you slot that down to E,
Yeah.
that means that the sort of throttle response is a little bit
Bit softer.
Softer, and the gear shift's less urgent.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure when you've got it in E, it only pulls away in second.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Is there not a winter setting on there? Because winter settings usually stick it in second.
Yeah, well, I don't know what B is. I can't remember. But I was mucking around with this. I was listening to the radio on the way to seeing you this morning. The Becca, take
Becca
deck.
Mexico, yeah.
And it's really nice, and the surround sound. Look, the little surround sound thing there.
That's so good. And these are heated seats, aren't they?
Yeah, it's got 2-stage heated seats, and I was using them this morning. It's absolutely glorious. And the thing is, although it's a V8, it's a really quiet V8,
isn't it?
It's not a shouty V8.
No, not at all.
I mean, listen, the loudest thing is us in the leather.
It's the creaking,
listen,
isn't it? The creaking of the leather.
That's
That's the sound of
us.
luxury, my friend.
And you've got orthopedic seats with your air. There's so many adjustments. The seats hiss. I know.
And I like this switch here because this is the loud and quiet horn selector.
Is that what it is? Because that's the
A
only
horn for
switch
town and a horn for in the country.
It's a town and country horn.
Basically, yes.
I love that. That's so damn
We
polite.
won't test it out because there are people around, but that is what it does.
I can't imagine Saul in this car. I can imagine not Brian. I can imagine Nigel in it. Brian and
Mansell.
Nigel.
That was a band, wasn't it?
It was Brian and Nigel.
Now, I looked up, knowing that you'd got this car, I looked up Brian Sewell on this car because he wrote about it for The Independent.
Did he? What and why he liked it, or?
Yes.
Sewell.
The aggression with which I am asked, and what to drive, always focuses me. I see the sniff of prejudice prepared for the answer Rolls, Porsche, Aston, Ferrari, or some other obvious rich man's toy. I tell him the truth. I drive an aging Honda hatchback, the engine a 1.4, perfect for dogs and other domestic responsibilities. But then he goes on through his first car and this, and then he had a string of Daimlers, all post-war, but based on 1930s notions of engineering and design.
Notions.
It was nostalgia for these after a lean period with small Peugeots and Hondas that inspired the moment of madness in which I bought a Mercedes-Benz 560 SEC that had been presented by its manufacturers to Nigel Mansell in 1987. Turning into Tony Crook, this isn't how Brian Sewell spoke at all, this is Tony Crook of Bristol Cars.
I love it.
But yeah, this absurd car is as big as a barge, yet only has 2 doors and only 4 seats, so form-fittingly sculpted that not even a chihuahua would be at ease between them. Not sure what he's on about there. I think it's a big and...
Oh, I mean, look at the legroom you've got.
Yeah.
This is built for lanky Germans, and you could fit real people in the back, there's no doubt. And have you seen the armrest? If you lift up the armrest, do it, and then pull the thing out from between the seats.
Oh!
It's like a removable cushiony thing.
Oh my God!
Where you can either
That's
put...
delightful.
Yeah,
and there's a frigging massive ashtray there as well.
Wow.
An ashtray in the back.
80s
That's
affluent smoking.
2 things date this car. It has a 4-speed automatic and it has a massive ashtray in the back. This is a wonderful paragraph. I have never much cared for the boy racer business, but the car reaches 60 miles per hour easily in 7 seconds. And in the spirit of inquiry, I have held it for miles at 140 miles per hour on an empty continental motorway at dawn. It just lowered its suspension and sped as though on rails.
140 on a continental what?
Continental motorway at dawn. It has brakes to match, and on a mountain road it draws a line as elegant as any by Paul Klee. Little
Keeping it arty.
It really, something that dates it, but in a wonderful way, is the fact it rears up.
Yeah, you get the hydrofoiling. I love that. It's sort of the classic hydrofoil.
Developments in suspension technology, not least like air springs on cars like this.
You don't get the squat.
Yeah, I suppose geometry, anti-dive and squat.
What was the first car you really noticed a big squat on? You weren't necessarily driving it, but seeing one.
Mate, my dad's got an Audi coupe, 5-cylinder.
Oh yeah, that was big on the hydrofoil.
And he gunned it to show off that it had got some pep.
And did it just lift?
Yeah, and I remember also, I was quite young, and I remember that feeling when your stomach gets left behind, which I'd never experienced before in a car because my dad had a Talbot Solara.
And hang on a minute, 5-cylinder coupe, was it new? He got it new?
Yeah.
What colour?
Well, the mind plays tricks, doesn't it? But I remember it being sort of burgundy colour.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Gosh, I miss mine.
He
loved
was
it.
an old colleague of my dad's, and their company car scheme, you're supposed to have a 4-door car because in case you had to take clients out, even though this guy, he successfully argued that he never had to take clients out, and so but he would still happily have a 4-seat car, but he wanted 2 doors, and they somehow went, all right, fine.
And he got the Audi coupe.
Got the Audi coupe.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. As a company car. And I think he could have had a bigger saloon, but probably, he wanted a sportier car.
Well, this is, as I was driving this morning, I was in this car for 2 hours in the lashing rain, had my heated seat on, had my Becker radio playing nicely, was thoroughly enjoying it, and I thought, nowadays, the kind of person that would buy or would have bought this, are they now just buying SUVs instead?
Yeah, because I don't think there's going to be a new S-Class coupe.
Which is
there's
a real shame.
New S-Class coming quite soon.
Yeah.
Rumour is no coupe. Just not a call for it anymore.
And I absolutely love the S-Class coupe because it did so many things really well. It was so cosseting.
Yeah.
But it's an expensive car. It's 120 grand or something or more.
Yeah. It's a big swinging dick of a car, the S-Class coupe, isn't it? Because apart from anything else, it's saying, I want a big car, but I don't need that much interior room.
No.
I want it just to be big because it's big.
It's the American adage of like going, oh, I want a 2-door Cadillac. It's a 20-foot long car, but I still don't have enough legroom.
Yeah.
And you go, well, what's the point in that packaging? You just go, well.
I was thinking, but there's no complaints in here. It's like, a person could, at a push, sit behind you there.
Yeah, they could. And I've got the seat fairly well, but you've got your seat right back.
Of course,
and
because it's luxurious.
you're in full.
I wish I had a cigar with me. I could just.
This was the biggest engine they did, right? The 500 was the most popular.
No V12s in those days.
No V12s. 300 horsepower. I think it was just under 7 seconds to 60.
Because the 560 was a sort of later addition to the range, wasn't it? And I remember
facelift onwards, which was 85. Car came out in 81.
We went when I was a kid. Well, it was 86. I know this for a fact. It was 1986. We had family in Canada.
Of course you did.
A lot of my mum's extended family lived in Canada, and we went to visit them in 1986.
Did you?
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Big deal. And that was the first time I saw a 560 SEL.
Oh,
and I remember being quite excited because I was a really cool 11-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was excited by things like that. And I saw it in a car park, and I was like, oh, that's a new 560. Yeah, with a bigger engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one else was that interested.
Now, I reckon this car is a lot more sofa-esque.
Yes.
Than the equivalent BMW 6 Series.
Oh God, yeah.
Way more.
205.
But the thing is, whoa.
But
the thing is I don't want to own an old BMW 6 Series. I've never wanted to own one.
635?
No. I think they're great. But I've never wanted to own one. I think they're a bit too jingle for me. Whereas I watch Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and I just go, black one of these, please.
Was there a black one of these in Roadhouse?
Swayze had 2 cars in Roadhouse. He had the Buick Riviera that got vandalised a lot.
Right, I sort of remember that.
And he had his and then he had his like New York plates car that he kept away from people, which was the Merc SEC.
It was his way or the highway.
It was his way or the highway, and rightly so, because Swayze, he wasn't stacked, but he was solid, and he was quick, and he was martial arty.
Yeah, and then he'd go and stitch up his wounds in the bogs.
He'd stitch up his own wounds, and then he'd date a very 80s lady doctor. Brilliant.
I love an 80s lady.
She was great. I don't even know what her name was.
I'm going to have to go and watch Roadhouse again.
Seriously,
I haven't watched it for years.
Good film.
Is it a good film?
I'm gonna say it's still good.
Good. It's a good film of its era, of its type.
But he wrecked the SEC
Roadhouse.
at the end. He set it on full throttle and got out of it, and it went into the drug lord's front yard and did a massive barrel roll and got shot up by machine gunnists. Machine gunnists?
Yeah, machine gunners.
Gunners, yeah. And so, death to the SEC.
At the time...
I'm weaving. I'm just dodging all these massive storm puddles.
But yeah, no, I'd like one of these. Because what I was going to say before is that when I got in this, when I drove it a while back, I sort of realised that, like you're saying, it's sort of Spartanish.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel bare because there's so much room. It's like the screen is so upright. Look, I mean, the dash is really shallow. Which dates it, but also means that it just feels more spacious.
Not many. The pillars are thin. The rear pillars are quite thick for a car of its era, but still so much sun coming in.
Yeah.
And I love these dials.
Yeah.
Because it's the anti-glare curved, and it's just the same as my 123. Fuel at the top, economy gauge at the bottom. Look, oil pressure on the right, on the left, the water temp. It's just nice.
It's I can't. I mean, obviously the leatherwork's good and everything, but this still to me feels like the finish is exquisite. I mean, these switches are superb, and it does feel like a luxury car. Look out! Here's a taste of Ben's today. Ill-fated pickup truck.
Yeah, so it should be.
Not their finest hour.
No.
Whereas this, something to be proud of.
My brother got me into 80s Mercs with the 123 Estates.
123 Estate!
And he said to me, Mercedes have got to be the only people who managed to make real burr walnut look like completely artificial burr walnut. And it's so true because they're so over lacquered and over treated. Where you just look at that, you have to be that far away from it to go, oh yeah, it's real wood.
I thought it was,
Whereas if it was a Ford, that would all just be plastic, gloss plastic.
Yeah, goes well with the caramel though. I think.
I don't mind the caramel; it's so of its time.
Exactly.
And look at the fire extinguisher right down by my crotch.
Compartment, yes.
Which was an option on lower ranking cars. I bet it wasn't an option on this one, but and I like that because even today we should still carry extinguishers. Oh, can I just show you this as well behind my head?
Oh yeah.
Electric headrest. See. And feel how soft that isn't it? It is so good, isn't it?
I just hold my head still. It's almost like having the back of my head rubbed.
I think, and a outside temperature gauge there.
Quite a novelty at the time.
It was.
I mean, no, everything's got that now, pretty much. But that
was then. Yeah. And this is now.
But yeah, loads of room. That's the main thing. I feel it's partly because the dash feels farther away. It's like I can see my whole of my legs. It's weird. You kind of go, sure, the sort of modern cars, it's a bit all further back, but this gives it this sense of openness.
I've got two memories of these. One of them is the one I told you about, the Roadhouse Swayze black one. The other one is my first job, my Saturday job, mowing lawns for neighbours for a bit of pocket money to buy me Tamiya radio control cars.
Yes.
One guy I used to mow lawn for, I could never figure him out. His name was Andrew Salter. Still remember his name, Mr. Salter. Now, Mr. Salter had a 2-bedroomed, basically 2 up, 2 down, very small 80s or 70s mid-terrace house.
Yeah.
So not an expensive house. He had one of these brand new in like a very dark, either a dark grey or a blue. And I used to mow his lawn, and I remember when he would pay me, he would be the guy with the roll of notes.
Really?
He was a roll of notes guy. And of course, me and my brother who would.
Did he have some kind of cash in hand business?
Well, I mean, I'm like, you got one of these, and I swear the car was worth more than his house.
Well, the thing is, this is like pre sort of PCP land and low interest rates and everything. I suppose you could get a bank loan to buy one, but it was,
But people didn't.
People bought cars, didn't they?
They saved up and they bought them.
In them old days. Obviously, Nigel Mansell cash didn't change hands, but I wonder if it had to have done what this car was worth when it's new. Because it's got everything on it.
Yeah. It's not silver. Although it apparently is silver. I love that.
I can't get any signal because we're in the sticks, but I wish I could because I want to know what these are now, roughly.
What, money?
Money.
For a 560?
Yeah. What do you reckon?
A really clean 560, I reckon you're looking at 15?
You think? Rouse Lench. That's a great name for a village.
I just thought that.
Watch out, there's a van coming. I've got that nervousness of being the passenger in a left-hand drive car in Britain, where
You're
which
twitching.
is once I borrowed a left-hand drive car from work, and I took a mate out in it, and at one point he went like this, and so I was like, "All right, calm down." Although it probably was quite close.
Well, like, do you know the only reason why I'm going wider than normal is because it's so mucky.
And you don't want to muck up.
And I'm trying not to muck up Mansell's
the
car.
Mansell.
Mansell.
The Mansell Mercedes.
Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell. He's an F1 driver, but also an art critic. Nigel Mansell, the art critic, would just be doing that. I'd say like that.
I love that.
I mean, obviously
Nigel
the guys
Bry.
have done a good job, but a very disappointing piece of art there in the end.
Nigel Mansell.
Mansell. Or equally, Brian Sewell as an F1 driver.
Oh, we've just been...
When I had an absolutely exquisite race. I really did, yes.
The start line was brimming with colour.
The car really displayed its composure and comportment in the braking zones. Magnificent to behold.